Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We make these videos for anybody who owns and runs a welding shop. If that's you, hopefully this will be really potent and helpful for you. So today's topic is going to go over some easy ways to create boundaries between your personal and your work life. This is really hard to do, especially if you're self-employed, because the entire business runs through you. You're taking all the phone calls, doing all the sales, doing all the jobs, that sort of thing. So it's really hard to create boundaries if you're self-employed. Today we're going to cover some very simple things that when I was first getting going and it was just me, I implemented that were extremely helpful to create boundaries and that we still use today now that we got multiple employees. Separate work cell phone with a different number is the first thing that you can do that's gonna make the biggest difference. This was huge. There's nothing worse than a customer texting you, calling you on the weekends with an issue, and then you being stressed out and thinking about it the entire weekend and not being able to focus on your wife or your family or your personal life. Get a company phone and then run all of your work-related calls, texts, any forms of contacts through that number, and only have access to it during business hours. Leave it at the shop at night and on the weekends. Customers who are upset that you aren't available on Sunday are the customers that you should fire anyway. If you have existing customers and a lot of them have your contact information, simply just send everybody a text and say, hey, I got a new number. I'm not gonna be reachable on this phone number any longer. All the ones that are reasonable are gonna be fine with that. So secondly is don't do any favors or jobs after hours or on weekends. Set strict boundaries for when you work, ideally during normal business hours only. Outside of this time, you should be completely unreachable. Some of you are gonna say, I can't afford to only work 5 days a week and have boundaries. I have to work 7 days a week to make ends meet. This is caused by a different set of issues. Likely that you're not making a high enough profit margin or you're bidding your jobs incorrectly, and we'll make a separate video on that, but that's likely the problem. You definitely can make great money and have extremely strict boundaries. Second thing here is only have your work email on your work computer. If you have it on your phone, you're gonna check it outside of work hours when you're at home on the weekends, and then you're just gonna be distracted and stressed during your personal time. You don't wanna do that. A lot of you are thinking, I'm gonna miss out on revenue and business because I have strict boundaries and it's bad customer service to not be reachable during all hours of the day. In our experience, the opposite has been true. Having a strict boundaries and business hours is what all professional businesses do. Most serious customers are going to respect the business hours and boundaries, and it gives the idea that you're a professional establishment rather than just a desperate on-call handyman. The more boundaries that myself and the company have created over time, the more successful we become in terms of profitability and quality of life. And that's kind of the second thing that's actually more important than sheer profitability is how much this is going to increase your quality of life. You're not going to have nearly as much weekend stress. You can actually be present with your family, your friends, and the hobbies that you want to pursue. That's a big deal because ultimately the goal of being self-employed, owning your own business is to serve your personal goals. Setting boundaries does that. So that covers today's video. We'll just cover the takeaways quickly. Easiest thing you can do that's going to make the most difference, get a company phone. Run all business calls and points of contacts through that separate number. Have zero access to this phone outside of business hours. You can buy a used cell phone and a cheap phone plan for next to nothing. You can even get a flip phone if you want. It is nice to be able to text customers and that sort of thing. It's going to increase your quality of life tremendously by getting a separate phone number and phone for your work-related contact. Don't do favors and hours outside of business hours on the weekends, that sort of thing. Certain customers are going to take advantage of that, and you're going to always end up be doing side jobs, favors outside of hours if you make exceptions. The people who are upset about you not doing things on Sunday and Saturday and whenever you don't want to do it are the customers you should fire anyway. And last thing, have your work email on a work computer only. If you have it on your phone, you're going to check it on the weekends, and then you're going to be distracted and stressed during your family and personal time. I promise if you implement these things, it's going to increase your quality of life tremendously and likely also your profitability as well, just because of the power of focus. When you're at work, you're going hard at work, and when you're at home, you're doing intentional time with your family, your friends, your hobbies, whatever it may be. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.